rush. It's okay. It's okay. No rush. Thank you.
Yeah, just the thing is 5.2 because it's still recording.
Oh, still recording. Ah, okay.
Okay, so I mean you can do the thing behind it.
Yeah.
Just a little display it.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
So what is this class?
COMP1531, software engineering.
Software engineering. Okay.
Yeah. Which course was that?
Mine is database.
Oh, database.
And this is level 2.
So it's from business.
It's business. It's no difference. It's one of the courses that doesn't matter in computer science. And this is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Huh?
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, cool, great, perfect, thank you. Amazing. Just testing before we're starting the lecture. Can you see clearly from the back? Can you see the slides clearly? Okay, cool, amazing. We will start in another 4 minutes. So we'll start at 11:05. So waiting people to come in. For those who are trying to find the lecture slides, you can find the slides here. Okay, welcome everyone. It's 11:05, so we need to start the lecture, but feel free to come in. Welcome. So my name is Yuchao. I'm a lecturer at CSE. And welcome. So as you can see from the slides, like the authors for all the slides are authored by myself and Hayden. So Hayden will join us in the second half of this term. So those of us will be co-lecturing 1531 this term, and he will introduce more about himself later. So basically, I had my PhD here at CSE, and my research was like two angles. One is software engineering, so this is why I'm taking this course, like I'm doing research on software engineering. And also, I'm an education-focused lecturer at CSE, meaning that I focus a lot on teaching and education. So, very excited to see you. And Hayden will bring his insights from industry because he is a co-founder of a software startup. So his day-to-day life, his day-to-day work is software engineering. So we'll bring you the different aspects of software engineering from both academic and also industry. So we hope you can enjoy it. And also we have a large team of teaching staff. So we have almost 40 tutors, lab assistants, and you see them in your tutorial classes, labs, and also help sessions, forums, so everywhere. So very exciting to see you. How's your first day at uni? No, sorry. How's your first day at term 2 this year? Good? Excited to come back? Had a very short break? Yeah? Did you go on vacation, like had a short holiday? Yeah, no? But I had a break between the terms? Yeah, just checking if online students can. Yeah, some comments from online. No final exam. Yeah, we don't have final exams in 1531. So this is a project-based course, so we'll do focusing more on the project. We'll introduce that later. Okay, so we also want to know more about our amazing students, so you. So thank you so much for those who introduced yourself on the forum. So I asked the ChatGPT a favor to help me analyze your comments on the forum, like the comments that you introduced yourself. So it's quite interesting to see what ChatGPT gave me. So a lot of you mentioned your hobbies, like your interests, like what is so this is what ChatGPT gave me. So somebody mentioned that your hobby or your specific activities, maybe like sports, including volleyball, badminton, and others. And a lot of people mentioned about food, so it's good. Like I love food, so it's exciting to see my students also love food. So different kind of food that ChatGPT helped me find. And also we have students love reading, love singing, and a lot of people mentioned playing video games. Is Baba Is You a video game? Is that a puzzle game? Who knows what is this one? Yeah, so yeah, I'm a bit skeptical of what ChatGPT gave me. And many people mentioned that the music they love, and great, like we have a student doing a double degree of music and computer science. That's very exciting. Many people mentioned that they love cooking, eating, drawing, fishing, and one mentioned that game development. So my dream is to start a game studio. So 1531 will help you with that. So I promise you, 1531 can help you with you starting a game studio. Billiards, basketball, others. Yeah. I think ChatGPT somehow helped me analyze your comments, your introductions. But you can also see that ChatGPT is not very correct sometimes, like how they group your comments, how they analyze and summarize. So this is also a reminder, like in 1531, we won't say that you can't use ChatGPT or other AI tools, but please be mindful that ChatGPT and other AI tools, they sometimes can be incorrect. So be mindful of that. Okay, so let's come back to our welcome. Next one, so we'll do a quick ice-breaking activity. So can you raise up your right hand? Okay, put it on the shoulder of the person sitting next to you. Can you introduce yourself to the people sitting next to you? And for people online, can you introduce yourself in the chat?
The person next to me is Petra. She's doing comp-sci. Fun fact, I actually knew her from first day of uni last year. And she's doing, she dropped maths last time, so she has to retake it this time.
Okay, cool. Welcome. Sorry, what's her name? Petra. Welcome, Petra. Any volunteers? Won't you introduce the one sitting next to you? Hey. Any volunteers? Yeah.
The person next to me is Adabo from Bangladesh. I met him in first year in yeah. He studies CS back.
Welcome, Adabo. Great. So how many of you are actually first year students? Wow, most of you. Amazing, exciting. Cool. Welcome everyone, and also welcome those online. Yeah, can online students hear me clearly? Okay. Welcome Petra and Adabo and other students as well. Next. So, why are we here? So why are you here in COMP1531 or Software Engineering Fundamentals? Is that because it's a cohort? Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly. Anything else? I saw a comment from the introduction on the forum because they want to start a game studio. So that might be a very important reason. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, cool, amazing.
Learn how to code collaboratively.
To learn how to code collaboratively. Fantastic. Anything else? Yeah, I think that is the fundamental aim of 1.31. Okay. Yeah, we'll learn that definitely. So, I believe most of you have taken 1511 or other equivalent courses. So that course gives you a basic of learning programming by writing code to solve problems. Well, 1531 is a step beyond that. So we will learn how to be a software engineer by architecting and building software in a team. So more on this. Some comments or feedback that we found from previous years, my experience and other emails. So you can see what they learned from 1531. So you can set an expectation of what you are going to learn. So for example, this one, I took 1531 last year. I'm on an internship right now, and I have to say that it was the most useful course at UNSW I've taken so far. My day-to-day work is surprisingly similar to how the course works, with sprints, testing, and using it. So this course is very practical, it's very useful, I promise you. Other comments that we have received from previous students includes, for example, I think the major project and the content of the course itself was incredibly insightful and applicable to real-world team situation. So you can see that many of the keywords that mentioned by these students are real-world, like how industry works. So this is very practical. And other comments include, I feel like I'm now able to work effectively in a software team. Although the content was quite heavy first few weeks, after that, it slowed down, allowing me to properly consolidate the content rather than rush through everything. So I think this is actually a quite important comment. Like, you will find that first couple of weeks, especially the first 5 weeks, the content will be quite heavy. That you will learn a lot in the first couple of weeks, but the content will get lighter and lighter in the later weeks. So the purpose is that we gave you the necessary skills and knowledge in the first couple of weeks, and then you can apply and practice in your projects and your labs in the following weeks. So you can consolidate your knowledge in the upcoming weeks. So you may feel like the workload is a bit high, like in the first couple of weeks, but it will get better in the later weeks. Okay. And by the end of the term, you will be able to build a semi-Kahoot. So I saw a comment from online, like students asking, are we using Kahoot today? You are building a Kahoot yourself this term. Okay, so by the end of the term, you can build a Kahoot yourself with your team. Exciting, yay! So now let's come back to the basic question, like what is software engineering? So I want to hear your understanding of what software engineering is. Any thoughts? Any guess? Anything? What is software? So what does software engineers do?
Build software.
Build software, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely correct. Anything else? Okay, so I think to understand what software engineering is, to answer this question, a good way is to compare it to computer science. So by comparing with computer science, we can get an understanding of what software engineering is. So computer science is concerned with understanding how computers work and function, like making a computer do things. Like you can design algorithm, and you can also work on like cybersecurity to make a computer work safely. But software engineering is where we focus on building the right software for the right people and making sure it's maintainable over time as it grows and people working on it age. Okay, It's a little bit hard to understand at the moment, but by the end of the term, you will understand every word in this sentence. So we will focus on building the right software for the right people. So we'll look at requirements of the software. So building or developing the software and important components is understand the requirements of the software. And this requirement is coming from people. It's not coming from us developers. It's actually coming from the people that use our software. And we need to make sure that we make these requirements right and for the right people. And also making sure it's maintainable. So what is maintainable? Like we will expand all of the requirements, maintainable, everything we will expand. We'll talk about the details in the following lectures. But for now, like just a brief and understanding. Like maintainable is because we want our software to be used by people, right? Not only for one single instance, but we want people to use it for years and years and years. And during these years, the people's requirements may change. People working on the software may change. So we need to maintain this software, right? So we need to make sure that our software is maintainable as time grows and people working on it change, right? So we will have detailed look at those in the following lectures. So this is a quite good explanation, actually coming from Hayden, so our co-lecturer of 1531. So he wrote this, and he said that a genius sitting in their garage alone, writing code, and Instagram's developers, by both engaging equally in areas of computer science, but vastly differ in areas of software engineering. How do you understand this? Like both are coding, right? Yeah. Sorry, just for a second. Oh, where is it? Just want to make sure that everyone can hear you.
I think one of them is more related to like working with other people rather than individually.
Yeah, cool, amazing. So why do we need to work with other people in a software project? So when you look at all the softwares, like successful softwares like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, so none of these are built by one genius. All of these are built or developed or maintained by a group of software engineers. Alright? Even though we have a genius that's super, super smart, he cannot do everything by himself or herself, like, right? So we need a team. So this is why COMP1531 has a major project that is group-based. Because we need to learn how to work collaboratively in a software project. Okay, so do you need to be a software engineering student to be employed as a software engineer? No. Yes. The answer is no, you don't need to. So if you take this course and you found you really love software engineering, you can always have a job as a software engineer. And why do you want to be a software engineer? Money? Flexibility? Yeah. Yeah, job market demand, so a lot of things. So let's come back to the definition of software engineering. So this is the official definition of what software engineering. So software engineering is the application of a systematic, disciplined, quantifiable approach to the development, operation, maintenance of software, and the study of this approach, that is the application of software engineering to software. So this, I think this is a definition, but I think our previous explanation is easier to understand it than this one. So, after this course, we want all of you to be, or have the potential to be good software engineers. So that means that we want you to be able to do all of this. Okay, so you can find the emoji on the left-hand side, right? And on the course website, you can see similar things, and then of course, lecture content. So these are the themes that will cover this term. So these are the themes. So for example, of course, we need to learn how to have our software to do what? Like we learn JavaScript, and we actually will get into that in the second lecture today. We also learn about how to work together with a group of people in a software project, and also others. Sorry, I'm quickly checking online. Online all good. Yeah. Oh, people are asking me to change my camera. So people, okay, I will change that. So online students, you can see my face now. Yeah, they are asking to see my face. Okay, cool. We are going to have fun. We are going to explore all of these themes. Let's have a look at them one by one, briefly, and we'll get into that with detail in the following lectures this term. So all of these topics are designed or grouped based on the famous software life cycle. So this is the software development life cycle. So developing a software is not a linear process. It's not that you start with a list of requirements that you want to achieve, and then you write code for all of these functions, and then it's not it. So it's an iterative process. So this is one, you may have heard of the term called agile, or you may have heard the term like sprints, right? So this is where it comes from. So developing a software is an iterative process that it includes requirements analysis, design, development, testing, and maintenance. So what are they? So requirements focus on understanding the problem that we are trying to solve. So for example, you are designing a Kahoot, right? So what can be potentially the requirements? Being able to add a quiz. The users can answer a quiz. Right? So these are examples of requirements. So where these requirements are coming from is come from the stakeholders, which includes the users, the clients, and also experts and others. So we'll talk about that. And if we don't get the requirements right, we will get a risk of developing a software that looks great, very fancy, but cannot solve the user's problem. That will be a waste of time and also money. Right, so this is why it's important to get the requirements right. And then the next step is design. So good design is about setting up good architecture, so different layers of your software, but also trying to write elegant code. We won't cover too much in designing the software architecture in this course. So we will give you a brief introduction. Like the layers may include like the data layer, the algorithm layer, and others. But we won't go too much details because it's another can be another course. And also we'll learn about how to actually code the thing to make your Kahoot work, right? And we will use JavaScript. And we will explain why JavaScript is a good programming language for you to learn. And another important thing that we need to make sure is that your software needs to be correct, like working correctly. Like we need the confidence that it's doing the thing that we want to achieve the requirements. So we need some testing, right? So we need to learn some testing method to make sure that our software is doing the thing correct, and we will cover that in this course as well. And after we have coded the thing that do the correct thing, meet the customer's requirements, the next step is that we need to make this software project live, meaning that people around the world can use your software. It's not only sitting on your laptop, on your computer, but it's actually on the web, that everyone around the world can use your software. Your Kahoot will go on live at the end of the course. So we will teach you how to do that. And we'll also learn about coding together. So as we mentioned that non-genius, like no a single genius can make a successful software like Facebook or YouTube by one single person. So we'll learn how to code together. So we'll learn about teamwork in the context of software engineering. So we'll learn the tools like Git, and others as well. We also mention or learn about full stack, because a complete software includes a front end, is what you can see, like what you can interact with. So this is front end, and also a back end is where do the things at the back of the scene, like you can't see, but actually do the algorithm and others. So that is the back end. So we'll learn about full stack. Yeah, amazing. So we'll cover almost everything in a software development life cycle. Yeah, questions from online. Whew. Oh, good, perfect. Okay, so before we actually starting learning coding using JavaScript and also learning Git in the Thursday's lecture, there are some other aspects that I want to mention in our very first lecture. The first one is UNSW is a very big and a supportive university, meaning that at here you not only can get access to the lectures, the tutorial lab, and the other like learning resources, but there are also other resources or services that are available to you that I want to make sure that all of you are aware of that. So for example, we have health and well-being. So UNSW has dedicated support for students' health and well-being. So we want to emphasize that we do care about their health and well-being. So maybe at some time of the term, maybe at the end or before the due dates, you may be stressed, like you'll be a little bit overwhelmed. There are other services that are available to you. Make sure that you know these services and get help whenever you need. So if you are not sure like which service you should go to or how to get the service or the support, feel free to email me and I can help you with that. Another thing is special considerations. I'm pretty sure that most of you know about special considerations, but if you are unsure about how to get that, feel free to email me as well. And about ChatGPT and other AI tools, different courses may have different instructions on how to or whether it is allowed to use these tools. For 1531 specifically, we don't say that you can't use that, but please use these tools responsibly. So UNSW has this guide to help you responsible use of generative AI tools. And I think, so you can get this link in the slide. I have already shared the slide on the forum. So you can have the slides and you can please go through this guideline and make sure that you follow the basic rules by UNSW, so you are not getting in trouble with like plagiarism or integrity issues and others. But I think the main thing is that verify the accuracy of AI outputs. So as I showed you at the beginning of AI's analysis of the app forum comments, you can see that some of them are not accurate. Right, so it's quite obvious. But like when you are learning or doing the project or doing the lab in the course, please also make sure that you verify the AI-based tools answers. So this is one important thing. Another thing is protect personal information. Do not use any private information in the prompts. So when you chat with ChatGPT or other AI-based tools, do not include any private or confidential information like your zip ID or your password. Like, no, right? And also other private information. And also do not just copy and paste AI-generated materials. So if you're using ChatGPT, we recommend that you mention it in your work. Like you use the ChatGPT for this piece of work. Like we won't check that. So we won't check and we won't penalize for you. But this is a very good thing to do. ELP, so ELP students, please email me and we can discuss any adjustments. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? All good? Yeah? Do you now have a more clear idea of what you are going to learn in this course? Are you excited? Yeah, question. Mac. Sorry.
So we have weekly labs, so we go through a major project.
Yeah.
What will a typical lab session look like? Because we have a lot of things to work on.
Yeah. So we have 1 hour tutorial followed by 2 hour lab each week. During the lab, you can work on your lab. So we have lab assignments each week. So you can work on your lab. During the lab, some of the lab will also require you to do some project check-ins. So checking with your lab assistant or your tutor with your progress. And also some of the lab will also require you to do some demo. Yeah, but you can find the detailed information when we release the project. Okay. But your lab assistant will not working on marking or other things during the lab. We'll auto-mark all the labs so that they have more time to support you, help you, and they won't spend any time actually marking your lab. Any other question? Have you, who have watched the pre-term lecture that I shared on at forum on YouTube? Yay, amazing, most of you, amazing, great, thank you, you're here. Sorry. So if you haven't, please have a look at that video. If you watch the video at 1.5 speed, it won't take you more than 15 minutes, so it's very short, but give you an overview of the structure of the assignment. Cool. Yeah. Other questions before we move on to the next topic, JavaScript? All good, all good, all good. Okay, cool. Final thing is, so this term, every piece of 1531 has been either rewritten or revised according to your feedback from previous terms. So we are aiming to give you a better experience based on the feedback from previous terms. So please be patient while we release things gradually. So for example, the lecture slides. I will release the lecture slides before the lectures, and you will be able to find that on the course website or on the ad forum. But I will let you know where to find them. And also the tutorial will also revise the tutorial content to make it more practical and make it more interactive. So many of the tutorials are also new this term. And also the project, we also upgrade the project to make it more up-to-date with what we have in industry. So please be patient while we upgrading, revising contents for this term. So the purpose is to give you the good experience. Okay, and at the end of each lecture, I will share this QR code to collect your feedback. So this QR code, we are not only collecting feedback on the lectures, but also other feedback. The feedback you receive for your learning, whether you get enough resources for your learning. So if you need any more support or if you have any suggestions, any feedback, please do let us know. Your response is 100% confidential, so we won't record any of your personal information like your ZID, your name, and your email. So we will not record those information. But you have the option to give your name like in the form so that we can follow up with you and ask you more questions. Yeah, but that is optional. Cool, amazing. So now we will move on to our next topic, which is JavaScript. Have you learned C? Yes? How do you feel about using C? Good? Good? Yeah. So what can you now do? What can you do now using C? solve like a basic problem using C, right?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, my Siri is trying to talk with me. But in 1531, we'll talk about JavaScript. We'll use JavaScript in this course. So we'll talk about why. So why do we learn JavaScript? So why do we need to learn JavaScript? We'll also learn about what. So how to use JavaScript and how to learn a second language. So why do we want to learn JavaScript? So first of all, because its popularity, because of its demand. So in the large software companies like Netflix, Google, Facebook, they all use JavaScript extensively. And JavaScript is also one of the most in-demand programming language in the job market. So if you know JavaScript, it will help you to get employed in a big company, potentially. And JavaScript is also the go-to language for client-side web development. And JavaScript is very strong, that can be used for both front-end and back-end development. So if you know JavaScript, you can develop a web app or web software, including like both front-end and back-end. So everything in one single programming language, that'll be enough. So after you learn JavaScript, you can start to develop your own web app or web software. It's very powerful, and it's also very easy to use. That JavaScript has extremely rich open source library that you can use other people's code for your project, that you do not need to write everything from scratch. We will learn how to use the libraries in this course as well. So you can build on top of other people's code. So it's very easy and quick to develop a software project using JavaScript. So this is why we learn JavaScript. We can also have a quick look, some examples of where potentially the software that used JavaScript. So for example, on YouTube. So this is our live stream. So when I click on this button, it changed. When hello online students. So this all can be achieved by using JavaScript. So you click a button, what is shown on the web page is changed. All right, so this can be achieved by JavaScript. And where's my slide? Where's my slide? And also when you try to log into, for example, our course website, right? So it can also validate your password, like your username and password, before you can actually log in to our course website. So this can also be achieved by using JavaScript. We'll learn that in this course. And it's also very powerful that you can fetch and display data from an API. So we'll learn what is API, but for now, a quick example. So you may see on some websites, like they have a Google map like this, and has a drop pin showing where their restaurant is, where their store is, right? So they are using JavaScript API. So this is also achieved by using JavaScript. So you can see that JavaScript is very powerful, and it's actually everywhere. We'll learn that in this course. Okay, so before we actually learn the language, a disclaimer, like because you already know C, like you mentioned that you have learned C, right? Yes. So we'll teach JavaScript very quickly. So by the end of this lecture, we'll cover almost like the basic things like of JavaScript by the end of this lecture. But you will find that you may feel that you have a poor grasp on it. So you may feel that you have very limited understanding of JavaScript. So this is because JavaScript is very powerful, and it's more powerful than C, that we don't expect you to know everything at the end of this course. So just make sure that focusing on the problem that you need to solve, and then learn whatever you need. So we don't expect you to know everything about JavaScript. So I don't know everything about JavaScript. And we don't expect you to know everything about JavaScript. It's a very powerful language. So the focus is on solving the problem, the lab problem, the project problem, and learn whatever you need. Right? Okay? Yeah, so if you don't feel like you are very confident about JavaScript, like you don't know everything about JavaScript, that's totally fine. There's no problem at all. So you do not need to worry about that. So this is how JavaScript looks like. Looks very similar to C. What's the difference? Can you see any difference from C? Yeah. No types? Yes, there's no types declared here. Yes, that's correct. And I think that is, that's basically, yeah, for this one, that's basically the difference. So there are other differences. So you mentioned that JavaScript does not have programmer-defined types like C, right? So this is one core difference. Like, it's not JavaScript doesn't have types, but JavaScript does not have programmer-defined types. We will have a look at that very soon. And JavaScript has object-oriented components, but we can almost ignore that in this course so far. So you don't need to worry about that. Yay! And also, JavaScript doesn't deal with pointers. Wow, amazing! So one thing to worry about. What else? JavaScript is often written at a higher level, so more abstract. So you can write less lines of code, but achieve more things than C. So it's easier to write, it's more abstract. Wow, amazing. What else? JavaScript doesn't have an intermediate compilation step like C. So when you run C, before you actually run the code, you need to compile it, right? But in JavaScript, no, we don't need to do that. Very easy to use, right? Like more powerful than C. Amazing. So these are the difference, like when comparing with C. So here's a comparison of two very simple scripts. The left-hand side is C, the right-hand side is JavaScript. One difference, or maybe the only difference that you mentioned, is that there's no declared types in JavaScript. Otherwise, they are very similar. Now we can call this function. So how can we call the function and also print the result? Okay, so C and JavaScript. So in C, we have printf. In JavaScript, we use console log. So console log is printf in JavaScript. So you can print whatever you want to print. So now, how can we run the program? Okay, do we use GCC? No, there's another way of running the program. So we use node. So node, and then the file name, and we can run the JavaScript file. Okay, what is node? We haven't mentioned anything about node yet. Right. So what is node? Okay, so by definition, Node.js is a command line interface that interprets JavaScript code with a runtime environment that is built on Google's V8 engine. Okay, what is Google's V8 engine? What about we just skip that? Like we just need to know that Node can run our JavaScript code. So it's very similar to GCC. Right. So if you want to know more about Node.js, feel free to look online. But for those who just want a very simple understanding, like Node.js is the program that compiles and runs JavaScript. So with only one node, it can compile and run JavaScript file at one time. So you do not need to compile first and then run. With only one command. So So it'll be a little bit slower to run than C because it compiles and then run together. So it'll be a little bit slower to run, but it's more convenient, right? Okay, so now we have a brief understanding about the difference between C and JavaScript, and we also know how to run JavaScript file. So now we'll actually learn the language. So we'll see a lot of examples from now on. So before we look at those examples, look at how to use JavaScript variables, functions, and loops and others. Let's have a quick break. So let's come back at 12. So if you have any questions, feel free to come here, and otherwise have a break till 12, and we'll look at those examples.
I have like a few years experience in software development. So is there a way to make an object work? Like when I can demonstrate my
It's out of my control. Right, you need to can you email me and I will forward the email to
Yeah.
my email address. You shouldn't have to receive an email from me. Just reply to the email. We haven't covered gigs yet. So what about when is your tutorial? Friday. So we'll cover that on Friday. Yeah, we'll cover that in Thursday.
Okay, thanks.
Hey.
I just have a quick question about our environment for
Setting up?
Yeah, for coding setup. Before we just using the Tiger VS and to using that environment. Is that the same with that?
Yeah, that's the easiest way.
So if I want to using my own laptop, it's not used through the Tiger VS, it's just using the VS Code.
Yeah.
Is that using
SSH? Yes.
Yeah, SSH to connect.
Yeah, you can find the guide on the course website.
I saw that page, and is that possible like using maybe iPad or some using the same app through SSH to connect to our?
I've never done that. I'm not too sure.
Because I saw some application can do that, but I'm also not sure. But if that can using SSH, is that possible to use that?
I cannot confirm because I've never used SSH on my iPad. But on laptops, no problem at all.
So it's no matter what app we use.
No problem. But before you submit any of your work, please check on the CSE machine. So we take the VS Code.
Okay, so is that will check which method you use to connect over?
No, we won't check that.
Okay, so that is not a big problem. So for this semester, for this term, it's just for coding using JavaScript, maybe build a website.
Yes, web app.
So is that so difficult? Is that a little bit difficult to
We'll teach you.
So I just a little bit nervous about that.
No, I will teach you.
So is that like how do you say that? Is that I mean for every
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. Okay, cool. So now we can move to JavaScript. So before I show you the examples and we go through the guide about how to use JavaScript, what do you think that you want to learn about JavaScript? So for example, variables. What others? How to print? What about how to use strings? Yeah. How to use functions in JavaScript? How to use the control structures? And whether JavaScript has any data structure or what else. So we'll cover these one by one. So first of all, we'll have a look at the variables. I don't think the slides can show it properly. So what I'm going to do, variables.js, I will open it in, here. Do you remember how to declare a variable in C? Like int A, or string B, or long C, right? But in JavaScript, we declare variables using either let or const. You can see that variables declare with let, like for example, this one, like let years equals to 5. When we declare years using let, it means that we can change the value of years later. So we can change it to 6 or 7 or whatever. We can change that in later. So it can be changed. Another way to declare variables using const. So this one. So if you declare a variable using const, then you cannot change the value of that variable later. So for example, we declare this full name as giraffe. We can't do later like full name, we change it to tiger. So we can't do that. So this is two ways of declaring variables in JavaScript. But there's no type. So we don't say like const int full name or const int age. Right? So we don't declare their types when declaring the variables. Okay. So you can have like age is 18, height is this one, not exist, undefined or no. So you can give a value of any kind to that variable. So it doesn't mean that JavaScript doesn't have type, but it is dynamic, meaning that the type can change. So for example, I had years equal to 7, and later I can change it to a string. So it's dynamic. So JavaScript will figure out the type itself. So we don't need to worry about the type. So JavaScript will figure that out itself.
So you can change from like an int to a string or something?
Yes. Yes, you can change that. But only for variables that declared using let. But if it's declared using const, you cannot change. No matter it's a value or its type, we can't change. Yeah, question?
I thought I can see.
Mm-hmm.
We want the sum result to be double. Then both numbers have to be double.
Yeah.
How can we, if it's just let, then we wouldn't know if it's double or
So if you want to know a variable's type, what you can do is you can print out, for example, console. So remember that we use console log as printf in JavaScript. So you can use type of and this variable's name, for example, height. And it will print out its type. So you can always check its type using type of. Yeah, so let's have a look. Let's try to run this program. So we mentioned that we can use Node to run the JavaScript, but we haven't tried yet. So let's have a try using this example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a terminal, and I'm on this directory, like where I had this script, like variable script. And all I need to know, can you see clearly from the back, my terminal? All good? Okay, great. So I can type like node and then variables.js. Oops, variables, sorry. So this is what is console log. So basically print. So console log years, and we got 5 because we declared years to be 5, right? And then console log full name, and it's console log as giraffe, and then height is this, and then okay, so here's another one, like how we can use strings. So either single quote or double quote is the same when we use strings in JavaScript. So you can see that no matter we have a single quote for hello or double quote for how are you, both can be like print or console log successful. Yeah, question?
Do we have to put a semicolon at the end?
Yes, we do need to. Yeah, question?
So if it's interchangeable, does that mean when we write constant thing, we can also put double quotation for giraffe?
Yes, we can. So we can have a try. So we can have double quote for giraffe as well. So it's the same. Yeah, question?
Then if I want the string to contain double quotations, like for example, I want to say a quote with a quotation mark, how would
That's a very good question. So you can see that giraffe has a code now. Yeah, question? Yeah, put in there. Yeah.
When I run it without a semicolon, it works. So is it just like optional or it's style?
We would prefer that you put that.
So sorry, just with the question that I had. Yeah. Say you should, like, is it make the result?
Yeah, you can change the time. You can like I'll show you. Yeah, question.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
For the giraffe, like in quotation marks, what if you put like double quotation marks instead of double quotation marks?
Question. So what about we just try? Let's see. So I think this is a very good practice for learning of like a programming language. Is that you actually practice and try, and then you can figure out many things yourself, and you can kind of can understand and remember that better than like people show you. So, but I will show you here. So what we can do is I change this one, and then like this. So you can see it's the same.
But like even if it was like the other way around, like double quotation marks, double quotation marks, giraffe.
It will still work, but I will show you. Oh, sorry. Oh, I missed one. One more. Sorry. What happens to it? Okay, so it won't work. Uh-oh. I expected string, so we can't do that. So you need to have something like this. Yeah, cool.
So, for constant,
Yeah.
or let's say this, can you make it equivalent to let?
Sorry, what's your question?
So there's let E equal 5.
Yep.
And there's constant full name. So using these two examples, can I just make it constant full name equal years? Will that still work?
Constant full name
Equals years.
equals years.
Will that still work?
Yes. So you just assign the value to full name.
Right.
But I will change it back to giraffe. How to pronounce giraffe? How to spell giraffe? Yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah, one more question. Yeah.
So you said when you put in type O or console.log,
Yeah.
and type O, it would found.
Yeah.
Will we just see that?
Yeah, sure, of course, we can. So let's have a try. So I will comment these console logs so that you can see it clearly. So what we can do is console log type of, and then which type would you like to see? Which one? Anyone? What about age? So let's have a look. It's a number. Interesting, right? Okay, you will explore, you will find, like, discover more interesting stuff in JavaScript. Okay, cool. I'll again open the script in my VS Code rather than the slide because this one is fun actually. Okay, so how we can use strings in JavaScript? So we can join strings together by using plus. And we can also use another way called literals. But before we look at literals, let's just have a look at how we can use plus to join strings together. Strings. Okay, I will comment the second half, and let's just try out the first one. Strings. My name is Pikachu. So this is like one way you can combine strings together. So it can be used for example, in a loop. Like you want to print out a sentence with different variables, and you can use plot to put them together. Like for example, I don't know. So now let's have a look at this one. So this another way of mix variables and strings, and this is when you want to create a string literal, and the way is by using this backdash. In that we have strings, and then we can use this $quote to include a variable in a string. Okay, just run it so that you can see it. So hello, my name is Yuchao, and I am 7. So you can put variables in a string by using literals. And we use, remember this is a back dot instead of quote. So it's not quote, it's not a single quote, it's a backdash. Yeah, any question online? Yeah, all good. So this is question. Yeah, question. How do I print what? Which one? The new line character. Oh, each console log is one line. So if you have another console log, it will be another line. Yes. Yeah, you can do that. That's it. One straightforward way. Yeah.
If we include like a variable in another variable, does it change if we change the first variable later?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Like how in this example, I mean,
Yeah.
this is a constant but not a variable, I guess. But if you were to do that with a variable, would it update if you updated the variable that you included?
Yes. Let's change it to let. And if I change full name to sorry, how to, what was your name? Like no. Petra, how to pronounce your name? Petra. And it will change. Like, hello, my name is Petra and I'm 7.
What if you changed it to Petra after you defined phrase?
It won't. No, it won't change. So the value of phrase has already been defined here. So if you change that later, the value of phrase won't change.
Sorry, just want to build up 4. So if I equivalent constant to a let, so it will still just show the let's value. But then what if, because let is modifiable, the constant is not. I modified that. Does that mean I modified the constant already, or does it stay the same value as before?
Sorry, I'm a bit lost in your question. What about we move on? And you can come back after the lecture, because I think we have a lot of cover today. Sorry about that. Because we have labs to do today, so I will try to cover as much as we could so that you can do your labs. But yeah, feel free to ask questions. If there are some questions like more than we can handle, we can always move that to after the lecture. So control structure. I don't think there's much to mention in control structure, because I think it's basically the same with C. But I will give you 30 seconds to have a look, and if you have any question, we can explain the details. Otherwise, I think it's the same with C, right? The same, right? Like the if structure, while, and for, it's the same. The structure is the same with C. And also for functions, the only difference is that we do not need to include the return type. So we don't have int the minimum a and b. So we only put like function here. So it declares that this is a function. The name is minimum, and the parameters are a and b. We also do not need to include the type of a and b in the bracket. So that's the difference. Otherwise, it's the same with C. So you can see that learning a second language is much easier than learning the first one, right? So you already know the basics, and we only need to look at the differences. One thing that is a little bit confusing, and it's different from C, is the data structure collection in data structures in JavaScript. So before we look at the code examples, let's have a look at a bit of theory. So there are two important data structures that are both collections of data. And these collections can either be sequential or associative. So what are they? Okay, What are they? So sequential collections are a collection of values that has an index, like a sequence. So which is the first one, which is the second one, which is the third one. So you have learned arrays in C, right? Have you learned C in arrays? Yes? Yeah. So it's basically arrays in C. But arrays in JavaScript is a bit different. But the overall concept is the same. Like has a sequential index of the values that you store in this collection. So it's called sequential collection. And it's also called array in JavaScript. But the array is a little bit different, as I mentioned. But we'll cover that. Another way of is called associative collections, and it's similar to struct in C. So the values are referenced by their string key that maps to a value. So for example, for key name, its value is Sally. For key age, its value is 8. For key height, its value is 187. Right. So they do not have an inherent sense of order. So we can move them around. So we can move age first, and then name second, and then still height the last. And so this is two ways of two data collections. And we can say that array is a special variable that can hold multiple values under a single name. For example, this one, the variable name is names, and it's an array. Within that, there are multiple values: Hayden, 1, Darcy, Angelina. Right, so you can see that here's one difference that you can already see. What's the difference? Different types. Yes, we can have different types of values in an array. So we cannot. So in C, there's only one type in an array. It can either be all int or all string or whatever. But in JavaScript, it can have dynamic types in an array. So you can even have array in an array.
So if it was instead of a constant, it was a let, you could then go like names and then whatever index is and change it later as well.
Even though it's const, you can still change. So this is a little bit different in JavaScript as well. So arrays, and then we'll talk about object later. It's a special type of variable that its concept is a little bit similar to pointer, but it's not pointer, but it's somewhere that you can reference to. But you can always change the value in the array. Yeah, question?
So you can change entities, but you cannot like set the whole array from to a different one. So if it although it's const as well. So for example, if I go yeah, so it's const, right? So if I go to 0, I can change that.
Yes, you can change. So let's have a look. Let's try it so you can have a better understanding. So have you found this code? So here is it. Okay, so I will comment this part. So let's go through the code slowly. So what I'm going to do is node arrays. So this is what I print out, or what I console logged. So remember, this is string literals. Like we can use variables to create a string, like to put strings together. Remember? So this is how we use literals, like having variables in a string. So I console log 1 and then name. So I print 1 and then Hayden, 1, Darcy, Angelina. Right? And the second console log is 2 and name index 0. So this is the same with C. Like the index start from 0. So this is index 0, this is at index 0, Hayden is at index 0, 1 is at index 1. Remember, this is same with C. And then later, I can change, for example, I can change names at index 1, change it to Yuchao, and then let's console log this one. Okay. So you can see that I can change the value in the JavaScript array. So I changed the one to Yuchao. So the tab also changed, so it doesn't matter. So JavaScript tab is dynamic. Yeah, question?
Can you change the length of a constant array? Can you change the length of a constant array?
Sorry, I can't hear you. I'll give you the mic so that everyone can hear you too.
What's the difference between a constant array and a variable? And can you change the length of a constant array?
Can I change the length of the array? Good question. So let's have a look. I will repeat the question for online students. So the question is, can we change the length of this array? Can you see clearly from the back, the slides? Is it clear? Okay, cool, amazing. So now what I'm going to do is, instead of change one value in the array, I'm going to push Rennie into this array. So Rennie is here. And push Rennie. So I'm adding one item or adding one value to this array. So I'm push Rennie to this array, and then I console log. So you can see the length also changed. Right. So it's more dynamic than array in C. Okay. Any question about this one? This line? Does that look weird to you? Or it's okay? Yeah, question. Yes, you can. So I have a list of things that you can do with arrays. So you can adding elements using push to the end. You can also add to the front using, it's called and shift Rennie. So Rennie will be at the beginning of the array. You can also change one element of the array, like using, for example, names one, like at index 1 you change to Yuchao. So you can change specific elements in the array. You can also remove some of the elements in this array using, for example, names shift. So I can't remember all of them. So this is why I'm referring to my notes. So it's okay that you can't remember all of these. So we don't expect you to remember all of these. So the core things, the main things is that you know like JavaScript is very powerful and there's a lot of things that you can play with. And you know that JavaScript array is dynamic. You can add, you can move, you can like do a lot of things with it, and then you can always search online and look for exactly which function or which method you need to call. Yeah, question?
So we can change basically everything in the array and that everything's constant.
Yeah, so let's go back to his question. So it's a bit similar to pointer in C, but JavaScript doesn't have pointer. That it doesn't allocate a memory for this array, but it still point to like reference to somewhere in the memory. So you can think of names as a pointer to the memory. Similarly, but it's not exactly the same.
You can't change names to be something other than array.
You can assign name to some other names, but you can't change the name. So why do you want to change the names of the names? It's like somewhere point to the memory. Like you do not need to, yeah. Do you have a better explanation that you want to share with the class?
I was gonna say, like in C, array, like the first element of the array is the address of the whole array. And so it's kind of like that in this case. Const, like C, is the address, or names in this case is the address of the whole array. So because the address will stay the same, it's just the elements that's inside the address that's changing, but the address will still be the same. So const will remain as constant. So the address of the first thing will be the same. Yeah, it's easier to understand. Good.
But I don't think that address doesn't change. But we won't go too very deep in that. But if you just think of it like similarly to point to an address in the memory. But yeah, JavaScript is more powerful, so we won't go too deep into that. Yeah, okay. Cool. Now we've looked at array, and we know it's dynamic, and you can play with the elements in the array, and you know how to access the elements in an array. So one thing we can also have, like I mentioned but I haven't shown you, is that we can have an array in an array. So array is just a different type of variable. So it's parallel with like Hayden or 1 or Darcy, right? Just another variable. Now another data collection method is the associate. Okay, so before we move on to next, let's play a little bit more with arrays. Like one thing that can often you find, yeah, question.
Yeah, for the previous slide, when it was like name and then it says 0, or name within bracket 1.
Yeah.
What does a number mean? What does it do in
Number?
Yeah, the number after names.
Oh, this is the index. So remember that in an array, the values, let me show you this. So this is the index of the value in an array. So when we have names bracket 0, we are referring to P.
Okay.
So the value at index 0. So name 0 is like the value of the names array at index 0.
Okay.
And names bracket 1 is R. Does that make sense?
What does the letter mean? P-R-O-B?
P-R-O-B. Oh, this is just an example, so it can be anything. So these are the values in an array.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. No worries. Any other question? Yeah, question.
Are strings and dots still represented with arrays, or is it separate?
It's separate. Yeah. So when we use array, we like very often use array with while loop or for loops. So in each iterate, so we can iterate through an array. So we can go through all the elements in an array. Okay. So while I is smaller than 5, we console log items at index I. So this is the question, like what is the number in the bracket after the name. So this is like, for example, in the first round of this iteration, we console log A. And in the second round of iteration, we console log B, and then C and D and E in each iteration. All right, so this is similar, same with C. And then we can also have for loop, like let J equals to 0. So why we have let instead of const here?
You need to change it.
Yes, because we need to change it in each round, in each iteration. And then we console log items at index J. And we can also have like k start from 0, and when k is smaller than items dot length. Okay, so what is this one? Items dot length. Ha ha ha. This is another tricky part of not powerful part of JavaScript. So we can have this kind of array method. So items dot length will get you the length of this array, and it is 5.
So it's like a structured attribute?
Yeah. Yeah. So items dot length is a method of array. So the name of an array dot length is an array method. So this is actually similar to what we had here. So name dot push. So push is also an array method.
But length does not have a parentheses.
It's different from C. Yeah, but we will explain this a little bit later. So when we introduce object, you will understand that better. We'll get into that very soon. Another important thing that you may want to know is there are two kinds of loops when we use array. And the first one is for in loop, and then for off loop. So when we use for in loop, the I here is the index. So if we console log, so not console log I here, instead of item I, it will console log 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And very similarly but different is the for off loop. So when we use for off loop in JavaScript, the item here is the element of items. So let's have a try, and then you can get a better understanding. So this is the array advanced. I will change it to, so I will add it a little bit so that you can have a better understanding. Oops. I'm going to comment the second half. So let's have a look at the first part first. So remember that I mentioned that in a for in loop, I loops through the index of items. So when we want to get a value of the items, we need to go back to the items array. So let's have a look. Array, the advanced JS. So this is what is console log. So it console logged the element in this array and also its index. So I here is the index in this array. So if you want to get the value in this array, you need to use item and then index I. Right.
So you don't need I++ either. We just iterate through it.
Yeah, so this is a special one. So for in loop and for off loop. It's different from the example that we showed in the previous slide. Yeah, question.
How is I constant? It's changing with every iteration.
How is I? So I is not changing. So it's declared in each iteration. Yeah. So this one is different. Oops. It's different from the previous example that we showed. So let's compare it so you can see. Here we are changing the value of j or I. So we are changing it. But for in loop and for all loop, we are not changing. Like we are getting how to explain it. So we are getting the value of the I in each iteration. Like we are not changing the value of I. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, question.
How does the computer know that you're doing that?
Doing what?
So you're doing let's j equals to something and j plus plus. How does the computer know that you're doing that instead of the constant?
So this is the syntax of the programming language. So you put the syntax here. Like when you when we run the code, we're not compiling. But when we run now, it will know. Like according to this syntax, and when they identify this syntax, they know what they need to run or compile. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so now let's have a look at this second one. So it will console log the value like A, B, C, and D, and E. Yeah. Yeah, question.
Why don't you just write console.log I instead of console.log and then like the money sign and then curly bracket I and curly bracket?
It depends on your purpose. So what I'm showing here is just trying to give you examples to demonstrate how to use it. But whether you want to console log I or items I is based on what values you want in your programming or in your project. Yeah, I'm just trying to show you how the for in and for off loop works. Yeah. All good? Any question from the back? You've been very quiet in the back. All good? Feel free to raise your hand. Okay. All good? Yeah, if you have any other question, feel free to come after the lecture as well. Yeah, question.
So it's constant I stack or something.
Yeah.
It's getting redeclared. That's how you're changing it. You're just deleting the variable.
This is very similar to the question from this group. So, yeah. If it's still not clear to you, feel free to come to me after the lecture. Okay. Cool. Where are we? Yeah, this is the for in and for off loop. Okay. Finally, we got to objects. So, before we explain objects in JavaScript, so let's have a look at this real world example. So in a real world, a car is an object. And this object has some properties, like its name, its model, its weight, its color. And this car, this object, it also has some method. Like it can start, it can drive, it can like stop and do other functions. So in JavaScript, we also have objects. And the objects also has properties and method. Okay. So objects are variables too. So objects, arrays, they are also variables. But they are just special kinds of variable. And the objects can also contain many values. So this is similar to array. The difference is that the code, it is associative, meaning that it's not sequential. It's not indexed by 0, 1, 2, 3, but indexed by the key. So for example here, the key is type, model, and color. And we have value for each key for this car. Yep.
So you wouldn't reference it as car bracket 0 or 1, you'd reference it as car dot type or color.
It's different. I'll show you. It's different from array. And the values are written as name and value pairs. So name and value separated by a column. And it's also a common practice to declare objects with const keyword. So similar to array, it's like a pointer, but it's not pointed like reference, the reference type. Yeah. Okay, so this is one way of declaring this student object. So with this student object, we have key like including name, score, rank, and their value is Emily, 99, and 1. And the way like we get the value is different from like array. We use bracket 0, 1. Like we can't use that. The way like we use is student.name. This is how we get the value of the value for name key, the key name. And we also have student.score, student.rank. So this is how we get a reference to the value in this object, like for each key. We can also, so similar to array, like we can push another element into an array. For object, we can also add another key value pair. And the way we add that is by assigning, like, for example, student.height is 159. So we can also add more key value pairs to the object. Make sense? Yeah, question?
So I also see that objects aren't really objects, they're also dictionaries, like compared to objects in Python or Java, where you have a class which is the blueprint of the thing. So for example, class car means create object of class. Here we just have a dictionary, we have a key value pairs mentioned.
Yeah, we have key.
So are there class objects like what we refer to in Java and Python, or is this the same kind of objects Python language?
It's similar, but like the reference tab and the point is different but similar. But here it's also similar, but we can't say it's exactly the same. Yeah, like depending on your exact scenario, I'd suggest you double check. Yep. Okay, so here's two different ways to create objects. The first one is you can start with an empty object with nothing in it, but you just declare an object called user data. And then you can assign like key and value pairs to like add more key and value pairs to this object. But you can also declare this user data object and then assigning this key value pairs directly. Yeah, question?
Could you let the properties be variables?
Sorry, what's your question?
Could you let the properties be like variables instead of constants?
We do not need to assign any type. So what's your question? So your question is, do we need to declare constant for name or constant for age or constant for height? Is that a question?
What if it was a variable?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Could you make it a variable?
Could I make it a variable? In the object? I'm not too sure. But I will check. Yeah, but let's try to run it first. Basic. So these two examples, they are both of them are declaring the same thing. Both are declaring user data, but in different ways. Let's try to run the second one. So this is the most common way of declaring object. Like if we already know this data, we can assign this key value pairs directly. So let's come to object base6. Is that right? No, base6. Base6. 2. So when you console log an object, so you can see that the console logged values are in a bracket, and they are shown as like key and value pairs, separated by commas, same like this. Sorry? The key? Can the key be a number? Yes, we can. I don't think we can. I think it needs to be a string. It needs to be a string.
If I were to, like, without defining it, like, I just want to add this key, like, later in the code, not in the first definition of the object.
See, like, when I give it like a number, it's still, like, when you console log it, it's still shown as a string. So, yes. So, yeah, they will still make it a string. Yeah, question?
We can define the 3 fields and then reuse it over and over again. Without redefining the object.
Yeah.
Is it possible in this case?
Yes. Yes, you can. Yeah. Cool. There are also some, so we have seen some array method, like push, like length, and there are also some object method. So for object, like there are some predefined method that you can use. For example, you can use object.key, and then you can put the object name user data here, and then you can print out the key of this object. And you can use also object entries, and then they will get, you will get like this. Like they will put the entry like key and value pairs in arrays, like separate arrays. And you can also get the values of the user data. Like they will ignore the keys, but only console log get the value in this object. So these are also some commonly used object method that you can use for your object. But there are also others, but these 3 are the commonly used ones. A little bit overwhelmed? Tired? A lot of information. Yeah, I know. Sorry that I can't go into all of your questions during the lecture, but feel free to come after the lecture. as I mentioned earlier, that in the first half of this term, like week 1 to 4, even 1 to 5, you will learn a lot in each lecture. But we don't expect you to grasp everything, like you understand like deeply everything in the very first 4 weeks or 5 weeks. You will get the opportunity to practice till the end of the term when you finish your project. So you will get better understanding, better understanding, and better understanding. So you will feel the course is lighter and lighter in the second half. So don't worry. If you feel a little bit overwhelmed, it's okay. It's normal. Like people are feeling the same. You will get to practice in your lab and then your project as well. So and also the disclaimer at the beginning of this lecture that because you are learning a second language, that you are not learning the first language. So we'll move pretty fast. So if you can't remember all of these and you don't understand all of this, feel free to go back to the slides, go back to the recordings, and practice using the lab and make good use of the help sessions and lab sessions. It's okay if you feel a lot of information coming to you today. It's common, like people around you are feeling the same. The course will be lighter and lighter in the later weeks, I promise. So we have seen that in an array, like we can have different data types in an array. Remember, like we can have strings, numbers. We can also have arrays in an array. So similarly, we can also actually have objects in an array. It's the same. It's just another type of variable, right? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we have covered this one. So in JavaScript, actually almost everything is an object. So we can say that array is a special type of object that has a sequential order. Like the key is specialized for you, like 0, 1, 2, 3. But it works very similar to the object, right? So we can say that everything in JavaScript is an object. So object is being a data type that has properties. Remember that we have properties that are like color is red, mode is whatever, size is what, like height is what. So these are properties. And object can also have functions, object functions. So arrays also have functions, right? So you can say array is another like special type of object. So you can say, so we can say that in JavaScript, almost everything is an object, like having properties and functions. So we can put things together. So as we mentioned earlier, we can actually have objects in an array. So this is an example, like user data array. And in this user data array, we have 2 objects. And each has name, height, age. So remember that you have a database of all of your users. They are storing, you have a database storing the user's name, their date of birth, their address, and everything. So you can have such kind of array. And within each array, you can have objects like storing the user's information. So this is very powerful, like you can store the user information, and even username and password. Right? But you need to make sure that it's secure safely. Sorry, I think we need to finish in about 2 or 3 minutes because the other class needs to come in. But we almost finished. So the later on slides is very similar. Like we can have arrays. We can have objects in an array, and we can also iterate through the array to get information in each object. And similarly, we can also have objects in object. Remember, in an object, we can have different data types. We can have multiple variables. So what about we just put an object, like object is also a variable, right? So we can have objects in our objects. We can also iterate through the object. This is similar. Some further reading. Yeah, I will share the slides on at forum and also on our course website. For the content that we didn't manage to cover today, I will also put further content or resources on the forum so that you can go through the rest of the lectures. Sorry, before we finish, sorry, 1 second. The labs, so today, this week's lab, so week one lab doesn't count any marks, but we'll cover both JavaScript, and Git. So we'll talk about Git on Thursday. So Thursday's lecture, we'll talk about Git. So if you see Git in your first week lab, don't worry at all. We'll cover that before the lab is due. So focus on JavaScript in your lab at the moment, and we will talk more about Git on Thursday. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
What is the difference between the HTML and the Java?
HTML is for web front end programming. But JavaScript is more powerful. That, for example, when you click a button, what it shows is different, and also can validate the password and username. So it's more powerful. It can not only be used for front end, but it can also be used for back end.
Yes. So we learn
JavaScript in this course. We don't learn HTML in this course.
But the language is like easiest thing.
How do you find it?
Like all programming languages, they have some similarities.
Okay.
It's like just a little bit different. Hi, thanks for the lecture. I just wanted to check when you're referencing, because you said you could have an array in an array.
Yeah.
So how would you reference
array in an array?
like the index of it?
You can have another. For example, you have. You can have, for example, user name and then bracket index 1 and then index 2. So this index 2, the second variable in the array, like username array, and if that variable is an array, you can get an index 2.
So if the second one was an array itself, right, and then you're referencing it, would you?
And you can change the size of it.
Like you wanted to reference the second array in that array. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for example, we have 1 and then 1, 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is how.
So how would you reference that to then? Would you go like?
So you go to index 1. And then, if you want to get 1 is 0.
Okay, the 1 and then 1. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to get 2, it'll be 1 and 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks
so much.
So I was wondering, what does the object property do exactly? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, so we didn't manage to cover it. So for objects, there are several methods.
Yeah.
There are a lot of methods actually, and these are. The method or the functions are defined by JavaScript. So we do not need to define these functions ourselves. Also, we can just use and call these functions. So you can think of object.key is a function of JavaScript that we can call directly. And the function's purpose is to get the key of user data object.
Okay. Like the key as in, it's just this? Is this the key of the user
So
data?
which one? This one? So yeah, the key are name, age, and height. So these are the keys, and these are the value of these keys.
Okay. So object.keys is the function.
Yeah, so this is a function defined by JavaScript, and we can call it directly, and we do not need to use any library or whatever. So as long as you install having JavaScript available on your VS Code or whatever, so you can call this function directly.
Okay. And if we declare it using this method, can we just add more values to it using this
you can
method?
still add more. Yeah, you can still add or change or delete. You can still do that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just have 2 questions.
Yeah.
So first one is we can use in, I think it's like an operator, in an array to look for
in loop.
Yeah, for a loop.
Yeah.
Can you also use in for an object to get the properties or get the keys in the same way, in a similar way? Because if you can use in for array to get the index, and can you use in for an object in order to get the keys, like age or height?
This is how we can get the keys in user data by using
Oh, okay, very good.
Sorry, we didn't manage to cover.
No, well, okay,
but
that's
everything
new.
is like-
And the second thing is that I really don't see the difference between a const and a let, especially for like an array, because you can change the length of the array for both, and the individual elements inside the array are all variables, even though it's a constant.
Yeah.
I don't see the difference.
So-
Why would you use one or the other?
So in JavaScript, on a very high level, there are two types of variables. One is called primitive variables,
Yeah.
and these variables is like number or string,
Yeah.
like that. So those variables, when we use const or that, is quite obvious.
Yes.
Yeah, like whether
You can't
it
change a
later.
number.
Yeah,
Right.
but
But if you have a
there's
complex data structure.
Yeah, but for array and object,
Yeah.
it is another type of variable. It's called referencing type, meaning that when you declare an object, you're not declaring the content in the object, but you are actually declaring the reference to the memory.
The reference. Okay. So the reference is a constant. So you're not changing the memory
Yeah.
address.
So it's a common practice. So we can't say that we can't use lag. So it's not wrong. It's not incorrect, but it's a common practice in JavaScript. Like we use const when we're declaring arrays or objects.
Because you don't want to change the address for no reason. You want to know where it is. If you ever need to retrieve it for some reason.
So the memory allocation in JavaScript is also different in C. Like when you declare a variable in C, like you declare where it is and allocate memory for it.
Yeah.
But in JavaScript, it's dynamic. It can change.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So the reference, like the memory location, can also change. But JavaScript will handle that for you, so you don't need to worry about that.
And the content of an array or an object is automatically a variable. It's usually given as a variable.
Everything is a variable, but there are different types of variable.
Okay.
Like objects or array, they are also variables.
Okay.
Yeah, they are all variable, but just different type of
Different
variables.
types of variable.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
No worries.
The further question about this,
Uh-huh.
for Yin, and is this, maybe I have some misunderstanding on that. Is that the key and the user data that is the user input? And
Sorry, I just stripped. Sorry, I forgot to end the stream.
yeah, is that